What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Live Chats with the Freak. I changed the backdrop a little bit. I was getting kind of roasted the last episode for the black hole I was in, so decided to give it a little color. Yes, I own eyeshadow that is not black too, so I kind of put a little bit of effort into changing it up a little bit this week, this month, whatever we're in at this point. So I'm really excited. I got some awesome musicians coming on. Dino from Red Voodoo. I got Melina. She's also in a band called Ship and the Charge Ups, which is a local Pittsburgh band. If you guys are familiar with that, I will have Kyle from Bad Wolves coming on, and our DI feature of this podcast is going to be the band Hazen. Hazen's been one of my favorite bands since I started talking to Dakota from DI Records. And if you caught the last live, he was on that too. So I'm very excited to have everybody on tonight. And I'm very excited to do another one of these. The last one went so well. And it's been really cool. And I just want to, I guess, thank everybody for all the love and support for Chats with the Freak. This podcast isn't even a year old yet, and I'm very grateful for everybody. So I'm trying to get some comments up here. That was not what I meant to do. I am going to drop the link in the comments if anybody wants to come on and join. You guys are more than welcome. I will try to get you in if I don't have a guest on. Just trying to see what's going on, trying to check out comments and all that fun stuff. But Dina will be coming on first, and Melina, hopefully, if that transpires. That was a really big word for me, anybody that knows me. And also, I do want to this is the last live I'm doing before this starts. I am repping my boys in Steel Panther a little bit. If you are in the state of Pennsylvania, they are doing 2 drive-in shows, one in Butler, PA, which is near Pittsburgh, and the other one's going to be in Scranton. It's going to be the September 11th and 12th. I will be at both. As if anybody's surprised by that, that's on you if you're surprised by that. But I'm very excited to at least get to see them. I know some people have mixed feelings on the drive-in shows, and I don't know. I think the situation that we're all in right now, live music is a necessity, and is something that we definitely all need to do and need to support in any way if it's done safely. So I know that camp's always all about doing everything safe and by the book and making sure everything's good and everybody's fine. So um, definitely go check that out and check out your local music right now, because I know those bands are dying as well. Everyone's dying to go out and do stuff, and then they go out and there's not really a crowd. So sometimes they've been running into that situation. But I've been very grateful for the couple shows I've been able to shoot in the Pittsburgh area, and been able to get into some other nonsense and all that stuff. So. But yeah, thanks again to everybody for the love and support on Chats with the Freak. It's been really cool. Last week's episode was Ken J from Static X, and that was such a fun episode to record. Next week is going to be the band South of Eden. They were formerly Black Coffee. They're a band from Columbus, Ohio. They're really awesome dudes. And I am putting together another live stream for September. It won't be until the 18th. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that one. I have some cool guests coming on for that. But yeah, thanks again, everybody. Like I said, this podcast isn't even a year old yet, and it's been absolutely a whirlwind for me. So thank you guys so much for supporting. And I think Dino just popped in. So he's from the band Red Voodoo, who I recently discovered. They have one single out right now called Rise Up, and it has that. They reminded me kind of the Dead Daisies, and I mean that in a definite complimentary way. I love that old, like, I guess it's not old, but like the vintage rock sound. So let's bring Dino in and see what's up.
Hello, can
What's
you
up,
hear
man?
me?
How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
A second, I can't hear you. Let me see if that's my fault.
Let's see. How about now? Is that better?
There we go. I can hear you now, man. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I've been doing good, trying to stay busy with all this crazy pandemic stuff going on.
Right.
How's it been going over by where you are?
Well, in Sacktown, pretty good. Just kind of hanging in there.
Yeah, hanging in there, trying to just stay busy, probably, right?
Yeah, music. Yep, that's what's getting me through for sure.
Yeah. I feel like that's what everyone's like getting through. And I kind of, that's the good thing about this is everyone's diving into big projects and stuff. Like I was
Right.
talking before you popped on, like I've been doing a lot with the podcast since everything's been shut down. So I think that's a
Right.
good thing is we're never going to have like this much time, I guess, ever again where everything's shut
Yeah.
down.
You can't say now you don't have time to do it because all we have is time, right?
Yeah. Like even like I'm back to work, but it's not even like full time because I'm a cook normally.
Right.
So it's not, I'm not even back to work full time. So it's kind of like I'm not touring doing band photos and I'm not back to work full time. So I'm still kind of like, what do I do with myself, you know?
Right. By the way, when I was in the queue to get on the show, I heard you talk about the Dead Daisies. That's really cool. Thanks for the compliment.
Yeah, for sure. I love them. I saw them when they were on tour with Kiss a couple
Oh, yeah.
2016. It was on the Freedom
Right.
to Rock. Yeah. That was such a cool thing. I shot them in 2018 when they were in Pittsburgh because I'm on the East Coast. So they're great. I love them. And I don't know, Rise Up just kind of like, I listened to it. I was like, this sounds like the Dead Daisies. And I meant that like such a compliment way. So I'm glad you took that as a compliment because I love them.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool, with the Dead Daisies that they're on our Spotify radio. Like if you type in Red Voodoo Radio, the Dead Daisies is actually on there, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so it was kind of cool you made that connection.
Yeah, I love them. And they have that like, and I don't want to say old because I said this in an interview when I first started doing interviews with a band.
Right.
I don't want to like call them out, but it was like one of the first bands I ever interviewed. And I was like, oh, you guys have like a vintage sound. And their singer got so mad at me. And I was like, no, I meant that in a good way.
Well, since all of us, all the guys in Red Voodoo are young, a vintage sound, we take that as a compliment over here. Because that's exactly what we're trying to do is bring back, rock and roll to my generation.
Yeah, like I guess that would be like the 70s kind of vibe, kind of like a Fleetwood Mac kind of vibe too. I don't really know, like the Doors, Fleetwood Mac. I kind of like throw all in the same category. And it definitely had that older vibe to it, that like the classic guitar riffs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I miss that so much.
That's what we want to do, and also just like, Dave and Drew, guitar player and bass player, they have amazing like background vocals on that song. And there was no overdubs or that was just their vocals and it sounded terrific on the chorus.
Right. Yeah. No, I thought the track, and it sounded really like well produced too. And then the more I was reading into it, I saw that you worked with Frank from Tesla.
Frank Hammond's our producer.
Working with him?
Oh, it's great. I'll tell you. I mean, that guy is such a down-to-earth individual, and he's taught the band and I, just so much about writing a good song. And he's the one that kind of founded us. Well, he didn't found us, but like he discovered us. So we're really thankful for that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought that was so cool because I was like, oh, that's a cool little liner note. I want to ask him about that because I've heard nothing but good about the Tesla camp. Like everybody always raves about how good they are over there.
They have like some of the best fans on the planet.
Yeah, they're awesome people. I haven't really worked with them, but I've heard nothing but good things about them. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So how did you guys come together? I know you mentioned you guys are all kind of still young, but like how did you guys kind of like form the band?
Right. So I worked with I actually went to an Ace of Spades in Sacramento. It's a really cool concert venue. And I'm actually wearing the shirt right now. But I went and saw Y&T, the band Y&T. They're from the Bay Area. And I met Nick Peasley, who is another like local Sacramento drummer there. And I wanted to form my own band. So one thing led to another, and I, met Nick, and we started jamming, and then he knew a buddy named Dave. He played guitar, and man, that guy, just to tell you, he shreds like Eddie Van Halen. I'll tell you, that guy is the next Eddie Van Halen, and it doesn't always show and Rise Up, but we're working on new material right now, and you'll see that, he has the chops, he has the skill, which is really cool.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that if Rise Up was gonna be a part of like an album or if you guys were kind of just still like putting out singles to see where they go.
We'll probably put out a couple singles and then later on put out an album. Hopefully the first of 2021 in January. That would be really cool. And then also we found Drew, our bass player, actually off of Craigslist. I was scrolling through Craigslist one day trying to find a bass player because bass players they're hard to come by, I'll tell you. But no, and he's a great backup vocalist and bass player, and the band's really taking form. Right now during the COVID, we're really taking time to build our foundation. So when tours open back up in 2021, fingers crossed, we could
Hopefully.
hopefully we could go on tour. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I'm missing touring so much because, like I said, I do a lot of live photography and stuff like that, and I miss being out there so much and being out touring, and
yeah,
I want to go back out.
I haven't even been on my first tour yet, so we're all just itching to like play a live show.
Yeah. You guys are in for a treat, man. Stock up on Gatorade. That's my road trip. Stock up on Gatorade.
I go boating, and that's all we have in there is just Gatorades in the refrigerator.
Oh yeah. Gatorade.
Stay hydrated.
That's all I live on. Gatorade and Taco Bell.
Right.
Oh my god, it's the best. It's literally I miss touring so much. You guys are in for a treat. Hopefully it reopens in 2021. That's what I'm hoping for. So
yeah, yep. The digital concerts are cool, but it's nothing like a live show. It's nothing like people actually being there.
Yeah, it's nothing like being in the face of everybody being like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
Yeah. You can only do so much like sitting at your laptop, like, yeah. It's like, It's like
it was crazy. We just played the Monsters of Rock Cruise live stream. We got an opportunity to play up there.
Oh, cool.
In LA and Burbank. And it was crazy, They had all these like cool cameras and stuff in the light show. If you get a chance, you should check it out. It's probably on their YouTube now. I know it's on their Facebook page. But we played like an hour 10 show, playing some of our originals and covers. Yeah, but I'll tell you, it was weird. The song we play our song, the song ends, right? Dead silence.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, you're like, could someone clap for me, please? Like, even if it's like the janitor in the back.
I know, right? Yeah. So that was pretty bizarre, but that was a great experience, and that was the closest, that we've gotten to play live during this pandemic. So it was really cool.
Yeah. No, that sounds really cool. I know the Monsters of Rock, I'm pretty sure Biso Blanco was also on that.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think
I just had Calico on like the last live stream that I did, and she was talking about that. So that's kind of cool. It kind of came full circle. Now I'm talking to you about it after it.
Yeah, it was cool. We had JT Lux. That's another guy you should interview. He's a good buddy of ours, and he has his own band called Lux right now. And Frank played on it too. He opened the show. So,
okay,
but It was a really cool show. Yeah.
I saw like bits and pieces of it. I was at work that day, so I missed part of it. But like I saw like snippets of it. It looked really cool, and I really like the whole concept of the Monsters of Rock and how like good they just seem as an organization, keeping everything organized.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was really professional, very professional. I was kind of blown away. I was like, am I really here?
That's always awesome though. When you have that moment, you're like, wait,
did someone pinch me?
What's going on? Yeah, that's always an incredible thing. It's like, oh, I belong here. This is so cool. Yeah, I have that all the time. Like, oh wow. Trying to act cool, but it's like.
Yeah. It was pretty surreal.
Yeah. So what kind of made you guys want to go the route? Do you guys just kind of write in the, I don't want to keep using the term vintage sound, but kind of that more classic melodies? Did you guys just kind of like write like that, or were you guys just sit down and were like, okay, we want to like do this way,
Well, we take a lot of our influences from our heroes, like Van Halen and Y&T and Tesla. And so, yeah, and I think from at least my generation, I'm 17 years old, and there's not a lot of kids my age these days who are writing music from like this, pulling from the 70s and 80s. It's all on their laptop or something. Right. And that's cool, each their own. But we wanted to bring that back. One of the bands that we really enjoy is Greta Van Fleet. You probably had
Oh,
heard of
yeah.
them, right?
Yeah.
Greta. Yeah, they're like the new Led Zeppelin. I think it's awesome because all these college kids haven't been exposed to Led Zeppelin, so they're kind of recreating the wheel, and that's exactly what we want to do too. We want to jump on that train. Like Dirty Honey as well. They're another band
Oh
that
yeah,
we
there's
all look up to. Yeah. So we're just hoping. Mark LaBelle, I think, is the lead singer of Dirty Honey, and he said that there's gonna be like a classic rock revival, just for a new generation. And I'm right there with him. I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, for sure. Because like there's bands like Greta Van Fleet and like you said, Dirty Honey. The Struts also kind of have
The
that
Struts,
the
yeah,
like the like late 70s kind of vibe. There was a band
yeah,
that toured with them. They're called the Glorious Sons. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
yeah. The
But
Glorious Sons.
okay, yeah, they kind of have that same vibe. So I definitely agree. I think like there's definitely a market for that, and I think it's a great thing to see everybody coming out and doing that stuff. There's a
Yeah,
band called Joyous Wolf that kind of has
Joyous
that.
Wolf. Yep, I listen to
Okay,
them.
yeah, cool. Yeah, they're so good too.
And
Nick's an
I'm
incredible vocalist.
yeah, I'm keeping tabs on all the younger bands, because I'm seeing like, wow, um, it might really be coming back. So we'll just have to
Yeah.
wait and see. 2021's the end all say all.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Hopefully everything will go back to normal. So where do you see everything kind of going from here, like in the music industry standpoint? Like, do you think
Oh,
it'll just eventually go back to normal, or you think there's going to be like some sort of a new normal?
I hope it gets back to normal. I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did though.
Yeah,
But I don't
I'm
know
pretty
much about the
optimistic.
music industry other than being an artist. So I would like honestly, whatever happens, happens, and yeah,
Yeah, hopefully we all go back to normal after this, man. I'm
yes.
hoping. I'm hoping. So
I
thank you
just want
so
to
much.
play a show,
Yeah. So thank you so much for logging on, Dino. I really appreciate it.
of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Everybody go check out Red Voodoo. They're so good. Rise Up is such a good track. Like I said, it had that, I hate using the term vintage sound because that's just not, I guess, fair to anybody. Um, but yeah, it was a very it's very good when I see bands like that, especially like the Dead Daisies. I feel like the Dead Daisies kind of reached some people that especially when they did the tour with Kiss, they kind of reached some fans that were younger. And maybe weren't exposed to that sound, kind of like what he was saying on the cast. He, to a degree, I feel like there's some people that aren't really exposed to certain music because maybe their parents didn't expose them to it, or they just were very closed-minded and didn't want to listen to it. I don't know. I know when I was, I didn't want anything to do with like classic rock when I was like probably when I was a kid, like probably like pre like 15. I wanted nothing to do with classic rock. Absolutely not. But when I was like 12, I discovered Nirvana and Mudhoney, and that was like all I listened to for the longest time. It was ridiculous. My mom probably heard freaking Touch Me I'm Sick by Mudhoney like 40 million times, and In Bloom by Nirvana probably the same amount. But yeah, I think it's really cool when I see like these younger bands because they're like, oh, well, like this is new, so we're so cool, I definitely think it's a cool thing to kind of see these bands, I guess, getting reinvented in a really cool way. Greta Van Fleet's really cool. I really like them. I'm glad he brought them up. They're awesome people and they're great. I really like how they, I guess, strong song structure, if I can talk. I like how they layer certain elements in their music, and their videos are very 70s, like in a field somewhere, and it's a cool vibe. I see we got a bunch of people watching. I don't know if anybody watching was at the Stretch Drive-In shows. I ended up missing it because they moved the dates around on me, which was really I don't really know what the reasoning was. I'm sure there was a very good reason for it. They ended up moving the dates from like the weekend to like the previous week, and my work schedule got all messed up. So I ended up missing the Struts drive-in dates. But like I said before, definitely check out Panther because I'm just gonna like plug them. This entire podcast is just gonna be me like go to Panther's drive-in shows. I thought Melina popped in for a minute and then she popped back out. Trying to make sure I'm not missing any comments too. I feel like I'm missing stuff. Okay, cool. Cool. So we got Melina in here now. Melina, like I said when I opened up the show, she is a singer-songwriter out of the Pittsburgh area. She's also in Chip and the Charge-Ups. And she just dropped her debut solo record, which is pretty cool. It gave me like, I hate to keep comparing bands to people, but I guess it's the only way I can really describe a sound. It had to me, a very like pop, folksy, kind of Fleetwood Mac kind of vibe. And I definitely mean that in a very good way. I love Fleetwood Mac, and it gave me like, I don't know, like I guess more of a poppier version of that. It was really cool. So I'm going to bring Melina in to chat about it. What's up, doll? How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on and doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you just dropped your recently you just dropped your debut solo record. I was kind of like teasing a little bit before I brought you on. What can you like tell everybody about that?
This is a project that I have been working on for the past 2 years, just to write and record all the songs and put them all together. And that it's just been a lifelong goal of mine to be able to have my own album, and that I have finally put it out.
That's awesome. So I know with everything with COVID right now, you kind of recorded that pretty quickly. How did the recording process work for your record?
Well, of course, like you said, there was COVID, and so I had to reschedule my studio time a bit, but I'm very thankful for Mike Gofka at Innovation Studios. He was very helpful with still letting me record once we got the green light for gatherings of people for businesses and everything. And so as soon as that was available, we got right on it.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So were these songs that you had intentionally written to go on the record, or were these songs that they just kind of were always there and you just were like, oh, okay, these go together now and I can put these kind of on a record?
Well, the song on the album Flashbacks was actually the first song that I ever wrote. And so at that time, I didn't really intend to put it on an album. But
right.
With the other 5 songs, I did. I had my 2-year-long process where I sat down every Monday night and wrote a new song to be in the running to put on my album. And after a couple years, after 2 years of doing that, I chose the songs that I liked the most.
That's cool. That's really cool. So how does the songwriting process go for you? Do you kind of just sit down and write about whatever you feel inspired about, or do you kind of go into it like, I want to write about this topic?
It changes week to week. Some days I'm feeling more inspired than others, but all the songs that I put on the album were songs that I did feel like had the idea before I sat down to write it. So I was just, having a feeling that I needed to put into words to be able to like communicate how I'm feeling, and that's how a lot of those came about.
Right. Yeah, I find that very therapeutic too, because I'm not a songwriter by any means, but I definitely I dabble in like poetry writing and stuff like that, and it helps a lot to be able to get emotions out, like even if it's just on paper, to kind of like organize your thoughts, I guess. So that must have been that definitely is very therapeutic.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. So, like I said before, you are also in Chip and the Charge Ups. And I know that you guys dropped a record back in March. And you guys were going to do this whole like release party thing. And then COVID hit. And it was like, nah, we ain't doing that anymore.
Yeah.
But I saw that you guys had a show supposed to happen soon-ish.
Yeah, on September 26th, we're supposed to be having our rescheduled CD release party show. We have not heard anything about that getting canceled yet, so fingers crossed. We had it originally scheduled for April 4th, so we've just been.
Whoops.
Sorry.
You're okay.
We've just been patiently waiting to be able to play our next show.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm sure there's probably songs off that record too. You guys are hyped to play live.
Yeah, there's a ton of songs that we had been practicing a lot, but nobody's ever gotten to hear live before. So hopefully by September 26th, we'll be able to play that show.
Hopefully everything will work out. So how's the album? Like, I know I talked to you, I think right after the album came out in a separate interview. How has the album been getting received by your fan base?
The Chip and the Charge Ups album or the album that I just released?
I guess I could work for both of them, but I was talking about the Chip and the Charge Ups record.
Okay. Yeah, the Chip and the Charge Ups record has been doing really well. We've been doing a lot of live stream concerts that has gotten thousands of people attending that. So the response has been really good to our album, but we just haven't gotten to perform it live yet.
Right. I did see that you did a live stream for your solo record too, if I'm right, on Instagram.
Yeah, I did. I did it on Instagram and Facebook. I did like 4 of the songs, and I did a little Q&A at the end.
That's really cool. That's cool. So how has your solo album been getting received too? I've like you've been gaining your own fan base a little bit. Yeah,
definitely. I've had people that I've never even met before reaching out to me saying like, "Hey, I'm a huge fan," and it's kind of strange because I'm just kind of like me. But a lot of people have listened to my album and have really enjoyed it. And I'm so sorry, my phone keeps falling.
You're okay.
But yeah, I've sold a lot of copies on iTunes and everything, and I've started selling physical CDs as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how is the I guess like I kind of described it a little bit as like a Fleetwood Mac, kind of more poppy. How would you describe, I guess, the sound of the album?
I just consider it to be singer-songwriter, acoustic guitar kind of music. When I was making the album, I didn't want to box myself into one specific genre. So I just kind of wrote the songs that I was feeling and in the kind of genre that I was listening to in the moments. So though I would consider it singer-songwriter, it's just kind of a mix of a lot of things.
Right. Yeah, no, that's always cool too when you have like a mixed bag like that, because I always feel like they can it goes to everybody. It's not just one person. Like I feel like Halsey does that really well too.
Yeah, definitely.
Like each song, like it's her sound, but it's different genres too. And I kind of felt like that's kind of how your record was to a degree. That's kind of why I wanted to ask about it, because it had like there were definitely like you pulled from different inspirations, I could kind of tell, but it all kind of sounded like you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I have so many different inspirations and so many different genres that it's not just like you can't just pick out one artist that I sound like. I feel like, there's just so many different influences that I have, and I try to incorporate all of them.
Right. That's really cool. That's awesome. I love hearing that. So there was one other thing I did want to talk. Both are Youngblood fans mutually. What did you think of Strawberry Lipstick? Because I need to talk to somebody about this, because that song was too good. too good.
I love it. The lyrics were kind of a little bit like shocking.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a great song. It was like very different than his other music, which he's Youngblood. He's different all the time. And
Yeah.
it had more of like a punk vibe, and I loved it.
Yeah, he had that, and like I remember I was seeing the artwork, and he had like two bulldogs, and I'm like, whoa, what is this like the Sex Pistols right now? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that so much. I hope he does like a full album like that, because I feel like him and Machine Gun Kelly, because they've kind of been like they do a lot of music together. I kind of feel like they're both like going on this punk like tirade right now, and I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. And he's definitely said things like in live streams before about and tweets about getting his new album. So hopefully we'll get that soon.
Hopefully. I know there's been some artists that have been kind of holding off a little bit with all the COVID stuff, not like putting out music. So I'm glad to see people like that and people like you still being like, yeah, I know there's a pandemic going on, but like the world still needs art and the world still needs music. So
yeah, you can cancel concerts, but you can't cancel virtual music. You can't just get rid of that. And I think more than ever, that's what people need right now.
Yeah, people need art and people need some good things to listen to and to watch and to be able to get out of the whole craziness that is the world right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, hopefully everything will go back at some point to some sort of normal. And hopefully you guys will be able to play that album release show on the 26th, because that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we'll be able to play that one.
Yeah, hopefully, dude. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Melina. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Have a good day, doll.
You too.
So everybody, I'll be linking all of this stuff in the description of this after it airs at some point. So I love Melina's record. It was really, it had, like I said, it had like, I'm a big Halsey fan, so I have a tendency to compare everything to Halsey, and I know it's really annoying. Sorry. It's just what I do. It's how I am. But like, if for those who aren't familiar with Halsey, like if the last record that she put out was Manic and it came out in January, and every song on that record was a totally different song. Like she had a song called 3 a.m. on it that sounded like she's playing electric guitar and like doing like a full punk thing. And then you have You Should Be Sad, which like has been overplayed on the radio, so everyone should know that song. And it had like a country vibe to it. And you had like a song like Graveyard that had like the electronic beats that instrumentally could have been arguably an EDM song. So it definitely, I love seeing artists that I guess pull from different areas and different people, and it's really it's awesome to see that. I love that, and I'm not going to go on a Halsey rant because I feel like everyone's not in the mood for me to go on a Halsey tirade right now. So let's check out the comments, see what we got going on. I don't know why I'm trying to get all the comments to come up. They're not all coming up, so I'm going to see if I can pull them up my phone. But yeah, like I said, I definitely am very adamant about the live music scene right now. A lot of artists are struggling, and I don't feel like a lot of people. I'm gonna go on my soapbox here for a minute because I got a little bit before my next guest comes on, so I'm gonna get up on my soapbox for a minute. I feel like there's a lot of people that don't understand what all goes into live music or live art, whether that is in the form of a concert or whether that is in the form of theater or even like a sporting event at this point. I don't think I'm not saying that anybody is in a worse boat than anybody else, but I definitely feel like the arts and people that work for venues like that or whatever are definitely going to be the last ones to go back. And it sucks. It sucks. So if you see all those GoFundMe pages for helping artists and trying to get and save our stages, I'm a very big advocate of that. So definitely, please, if you can, help support these charities for that, because there's a lot of people out of work right now. Like, and it's not even just the guitarist in your favorite band or whatever. Like, it's, you have guitar techs, stage techs, the roadies, venue staff, venue security, tour managers, photographers like me. We're all just chilling right now, waiting to go back. And it sucks. It sucks. I'm not going to sit here and try to be like, it's fine. It sucks. So I definitely feel like if anybody has the time or the energy to help these charities and has the ability to do that, please do that, because it's going to be the last ones to go back, and it sucks. But we all have to be responsible, and we have to take care of COVID, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But I feel like everybody needs to understand how big of a deal that is for the people in the arts and people in doing what I do and doing what Melina does and doing stuff like that. So that's just me getting on my soapbox about that, because I really feel like not a lot of people understand that, and it sucks. So definitely, it's not just, oh, well, you're probably going crazy not being on the road. Well, yeah, I am getting a little stir crazy. I have some things that have been helping with that. This podcast being one of them. I can kind of come on and rant, rave, and whatever, and it kind of gets me a little bit of social interaction. But if you are or have been a touring musician, you definitely understand what it's like not being on the road. If you have been on a tour with a band doing whatever, whether that's you were doing photos, you were doing, like I said, stage tech, guitar tech, you were being whatever your job was, you understand how abruptly everything halted. And it's definitely, it sucks. It sucks. I'm not like gonna even throw that. So hopefully they'll get this whole COVID thing situated. And I don't know why everyone's comments aren't coming up. But they're coming up on my phone. This is really weird. Somebody said Greta Van Fleet is amazing. Yes, Greta Van Fleet is amazing. I already went on that tirade, but Greta Van Fleet is amazing. You know what I also miss too? I really wish somebody would come back and do like some ratchet ass grunge shit. Like that's what this world needs. Like another, like, not saying Mudhoney's still touring, like when we're not in a pandemic, obviously, but Mudhoney's still touring and putting out music. This world needs another Mudhoney though. Like we need someone to come out and just like kick us in the face and be like, oh, yes. I've talked about Mudhoney more on this podcast, and I think I have the entire time that I've had this podcast. I've talked more about Mudhoney. I absolutely love that band to death, for sure. I'm waiting for somebody to call me out on talking about Mudhoney. I really am at this point. I think I already said this, but there's been some new people watching. Actually, I didn't mention this. There was an announcement today from the John 5 and the Creatures Camp. They have a new live album, and as far as I know, it's on streaming right now. I'm pretty sure. We're gonna say it's on streaming. I know the album and everything, they're gonna start shipping out in about a month. So go pre-order it. I think it's john5store.com. I'll link that below because I suck. But the album's really good. They are one of the best live bands I have ever seen, and I'm not just saying that because I've done a ton of photography for that camp. They are one of the best sounding live bands I have ever seen. The technical aspects of it's insane, and if you're familiar with John 5, that shouldn't come to any surprise that that's even like that. And the Ian and Logan that back him up are absolutely insane. So the live record, it sounds so good, and I'm just so excited for everyone to hear it. They put out a live album for the last one. I think it was probably about 2 years ago now. I think it's called It's Alive or It's Live or something along the lines of that. And it was a really good listen from beginning to end. And I have a hard time, like my attention span, and I know this sounds terrible, but my attention span when it comes to like records or movies is really bad. And it's not really like, it's not that I have a problem like focusing on something. I just have a problem with something giving me like a reason to pay attention to it. So if I like get a movie or a TV series or an album that I can just sit there and listen through it the entire time, that says something. So definitely go check it out. Like I said, I'll be linking that below. And I'm going to go off on another tangent while I have time. Everyone's probably over my tangents right now, but I am going to go off on another tangent. Everyone hates Machine Gun Kelly except for me. Literally. That's how I feel right now. But if you have not listened to his new shit, it is ridiculous. Like my ex's best friend is like the video for that. He's like throwing cars over and shit. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Like even if you don't hate the song, you hate him, whatever, go listen to the fucking, just watch the video because it's insane. Like it is absolutely insane. I can't even explain like how insane that video is. Just go watch it. I thought the Bloody Valentine video was but like the one for my ex's best friend was ridiculously good. Like it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Everyone seems to be like, I don't feel like everyone's putting out new music, but I feel like the bands that are putting out new music are definitely benefiting from it a lot. So like I think The Stretch just put out a new single today. I don't remember the name of it though, because I suck. But they just put out a new single today, which is pretty. It was pretty cool. It had their like, it sounded like them, which is pretty cool. It had their normal sound to it. There wasn't really anything that I was like, oh my god about, but it had a pretty cool vibe to it. I know Marilyn Manson put out We Are Chaos a couple weeks ago. I actually really like that. That reminded me of like early 2000s Marilyn Manson, which was really cool. It just had that like really creepy vibe to it. I'm also like, I've been on a really big Marilyn Manson kick since probably last year. I've just been binge listening to everything. So I was always like, I got into Marilyn Manson when I was in college. Nothing caused it. I can't sit here and say that anything caused it. Nothing caused me to listen to Marilyn Manson. I was just sitting in like my like college library on the computer, and I was like, oh, I need something new to listen to. So I like put on like, oh, Marilyn Manson. I like clicked on the first YouTube video, and I was like, why haven't I listened to this more? And I just like went on a binge from then on, and it kind of took on a life of its own. But that We Are Chaos is a pretty good song, and I really dug that a lot. And I'm trying to think of what else new came out recently. I don't really think anything else that was that new came out recently. I'm like racking my brain a little bit. I know that Five Finger Death Punch dropped a record earlier this year. That was pretty cool. I really liked A Little Bit Off today. I thought that was a really cool track. Try to make sure that I'm not missing anybody. Also, while I'm on here, I'm going to make a shameless plug for MC Media shirts. Even though I'm not wearing one, they're up on the Facebook page. Usually I wear them during video podcasts, but I'm not wearing one today because I wanted to wear a tank top, but whatever. They're up on the Facebook page for MC Media if you search it on Facebook, YouTube. If you search any or at Bleed the Freak on Instagram, you'll find me, and they're on there. Hit me up for one. I've been trying to sell a couple. I also have some other shirts that are in the works. And again, thanks for everybody for the support on that. That was pretty baller. When I dropped those, I kind of went little bonkers. It was really cool. It was really cool, really fulfilling. So hopefully everybody will be able to check that out. Trying to see what else is going on. I don't know why my comments aren't coming up on here like they usually do. That's so weird. That's very weird to me. Cool. Yeah, it's definitely been a crazy time in the music industry for everybody. And I think everybody doing healthy things to stay busy has been a big thing. Everybody finding creative things to dive into during the shutdown and all that stuff. Like I said before, like the podcast kind of been my thing. I know as soon as the lockdown happened, I was like, well, Chat with the Freaks getting a revamp. Like it was like, let's go, let's play, let's go. And I think that's really cool when I see that there are different. There's been different ways people have been doing stuff. I know a lot of musicians have been doing this quarantine jams with. They've just been filming themselves doing whatever. And I always thought that was really cool to kind of watch that. I know Winger did a bunch of them, and Sammy Hagar did a bunch of them too, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, I thought, again, to bring up Panther, I thought that was really cool when they've been doing these things on their social media where it was like, what fucking day is it? And it's like them just doing ridiculous stuff. And that like kept me very amused the entire time everything was shut down. So I think it's cool. I feel like there's some bands that are definitely doing really well with this. And I think and trying to do as best as they can. And I find that very, very fulfilling. I remember before everything got shut down, the last thing that I did was the Queensryche tour with John 5 and the Creatures. And I did 3 dates. I did Pittsburgh, Poughkeepsie, and Glenside. And it was weird because it was right, like everyone kind of was hearing about it and everyone was but no one really seemed to give a shit. Everyone was kind of like, it's whatever. Everyone was kind of just expecting it to blow over, I guess. But it was still really cool to kind of get out there and kind of still be like, oh, well, at least I did one run this year. So that was such a cool tour. I talked about that a little bit on the last live podcast that I did with Ian, who's the bassist in John 5 and the Creatures. And that was such a cool tour. It was so chill. Everyone was so just like vibing. I had a little bit of an argument with the security guard at the Keswick, but we're not talking about that again. I don't want to get back into that story. But it was a really cool tour outside of that. I don't want to call it an altercation, but altercation. It was a really cool it was really cool to get out there and to see that. I also had never been to the Keswick before, and it was really weird shooting in a theater because if any of my like photo friends are watching, like usually there's either a photo pit or you shoot at the soundboard as like a photographer, or you're like in the crowd just chilling. Like shooting in a theater was so weird. Like it was like, wait, like there's seats and people are like sitting like eating popcorn and I'm like, what is like the big tub of popcorn like it's a fucking movie theater. I'm like, what is going on? It was so weird. But like it was a cool, like it sounded really good in there, but it was such a weird vibe because everyone, like I said, was sitting down eating popcorn. It's like, oh, they're watching a movie, and I'm like, what's going on? This is so weird. The theater that they played at in Pittsburgh, it was in McKees Rocks, which is the same area. If you're from there, you know that's like this area. That was cool because there was like the pit, like on the lower level, and then there was like a balcony up at the top. I think it was called the Roxanne or something like that theater. I had never been there before. I was like driving around trying to find parking for like a half an hour. I had never even been there before. So it was a really cool experience to kind of shoot in theaters for the first time, even though that one wasn't like a traditional theater. The one in the Keswick was definitely a very traditional theater, and it was really cool. The other one, where was the other show at? The Champs in Poughkeepsie. Yeah. That was a really cool show. That was a really cool night. I really liked that. I did a shoot. I did like a million shoots that day. I have a tendency to do that when I'm out traveling because I'll be like, hey, I'm going to be here. Who needs photos done? And then I'll like book my entire day. And then like the day of, I'm like, why did I do this to myself? It's such a it's cool when that happens. But at the same time, I'm like, why did I do this to myself? Oh my God, I hate myself right now. That happened to me I think I have enough time for this story. Yeah, I have enough time for this story. So last year on Halloween, I was shooting a show at the Winchester in Cleveland. I'm going to roast the hell out of myself. I've been driving like, it's been less than 10 years, but whatever. I locked my keys in my car on Halloween in Cleveland, and it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I'm like literally sitting on like the corner, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And like I called AAA, obviously they were coming down and lock my car, but I'm like, I don't know how to act. I don't know what to do. Like I've never done this before. And the band I was with were like, oh, we got you. You're fine. Everything's good. And I'm just so sitting there. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I felt such like a dumbass because like I had like my bag and I put my keys in my bag with my camera. So I couldn't even like go do a shoot and like wait for them to come. Like my camera and everything except for my phone was in the car. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. That's not a theater setting. Literally, shooting in a theater, Frank, you know this. Shooting in a theater is so weird. I don't like shooting in a theater. It was so weird. Like I don't necessarily have a problem with theaters per se. That theater was really weird. It's really weird. It was really weird. I think that's how I felt with like pavilions the first time I shot. Because like there's one in, I think it's called KeyBank now. It's changed its name like 40 million times, but it's like the kind of setup where they have like the lawn and then like the pavilion. It was like one of those kind of setups. And the first time I shot one was the one it's in Burgettstown, PA, which is again around Pittsburgh. And it was so weird because like I didn't know where the hell to go, and it's a huge venue and it's whatever, and it was just so weird. But then like I shot at one in Cincinnati, it's called Riverbend. It was where I shot Judas Priest for the first time. And it was most insane experience. Like, it was such a cool experience. But I felt like that one was a little bit more like, I guess, leveled out or like laid out better, because like I just parked in like normal parking and then went up and was like, hey guys, like I'm here to like shoot the show, and they like took me over, did whatever, and it was fine. I felt like Riverbend was definitely laid out a lot better than the one in Burgettstown, because it was so weird, because like you have to go into like the side corner, you have to like park in a certain spot to like get to where you're going. It was just really confusing. And I remember I shot Lamb of God there, and they were on the Slayer tour, and the lady I'd never shot there before. I think I'd only been there like once, and they were like sending me over to Slayer's like VIP table for like their meet and greet. And I'm like, no, I'm not here for meet and greet. I just want my photo pass. Let me go in. It was ridiculous. Oh my God. That was terrible. Nice to be able to sit in a comfy chair. No, like I hurt so bad after that show too, man. Because like everyone was in like these, like the pit area had like a bunch of seats on it. And like I'm next to this guy sitting in a chair eating his popcorn, like with my camera on my knees, like trying to move around. And I'm like trying to get back out there. I felt like an 80-year-old man, like limping around, like, oh, I can't move now. Like my knees hurt so bad after that. I hope nobody turns that into a perverted joke, because I did not mean that like that. Oh my God. Hey, I think Kyle's in here. That's cool. So I got Kyle in here. Awesome. I'm going to bring him on to talk for a little bit.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. You're good. You're good.
All right.
Thanks for popping on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Anytime I'm invited to do a podcast, I'll typically do it. So
That's
thank
awesome.
you for extending the invite.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I rarely, so I'm going to say that I rarely talk to bass players, and I'm also a bass player. So I'm very excited about this.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you again for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. I'm not really like a, I guess, professional bass player. I'm definitely a hobbyist. But I definitely find a lot of, I don't know, like I never find bass players wanting to come on and do this stuff, so I never know what to like talk to anybody about. I'm kind of like, I don't know anything about vocal structure. Like,
No, well, I mean, like most of the time when I get invited on to do podcasts, it's, you know, it's not for like, oh, I'm going to teach you a thing or two about, you know, playing the bass guitar. You know, that's not really like my thing. Like I kind of just talk, chat, just any questions that, you know, your viewers have that I can give answers to, or, you know, what have you. That's kind of what I do.
Right. No, I totally get that. Yeah, I wasn't gonna like throw some random bass questions at you. I just was like, that's cool. Like I kind of like, I feel that a little bit. That's awesome. So for anybody who doesn't know, you're obviously in the band Bad Wolves.
Yep.
And
bass player, backup vocalist for the Bad Boys.
Yeah, you guys are definitely, I was talking a little bit before you popped on about some bands have been kind of using the pandemic to their advantage, and I kind of feel like you guys have definitely been doing a good job at staying active on social media and keeping all your fans engaged through everything being shut down.
Well, you know, technically we're still a new band. You know, we've only been around, we signed our record contract in late 2017, and we've been touring since April of 2018, so we're still a relatively new band. And I really feel that being a new band, we have to work harder than if we were, you know, on the same level as, you know, the Five Finger Death Punches or the Breaking Benjamins or, you know, what have you. And we had a really busy schedule set out for this year. Like we were supposed to be out with Disturbed and Stained right now through September. You know, we were going to have some stuff in Australia in October, and we were going to go to back to Europe in November and December. Well, with all that stuff not going on anymore, the best way that we kind of, you know, figured out how to kind of not disappear into obscurity is to make sure that we're still keeping a really high profile image with our fan base. So, you know, all of us in the band will typically go and do a live on any of our social media platforms, be it a Facebook or Instagram. We also have a Patreon which you can either choose a $5 or $10 a month tier, which gives you access to, depending on what tier that you get, gives you access to B-sides, a lot of covers that we've been doing over the quarantine. It gives you access to our live from quarantine acoustic set. And, me, Doc, Chris will typically go live and do a live Q&A once a week for the most part. John prefers to do more of like, he'll just have videos that he'll put out. Like he did, what did he do? I think he did like a McDonald's challenge where he ordered everything off the McDonald's menu and ate it. And, or like Tommy will post like if, Tommy will post some stuff on there because he's kind of like doing a lot of the covers. Like he's been in control of, what covers are getting done and whatnot. So that's kind of, he's always in the studio, but like if we're doing, like just a rehearsal just for whatever, he'll go on live with, Chris and Doc and they'll do like a Q&A with him on there.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. I really like that when seeing bands like that trying to stay active. And like you said, you guys are like, even though you guys, I feel, have gotten a certain amount of success, you guys are still a very new band. And I like the fact that you guys aren't really, I guess, don't seem to be getting your heads blown up by that. It's kind of like you guys still are grinding and out doing stuff. And that's really cool.
Well, I mean, all of us come from the metal scene. Doc was in God Forbid, and Chris was in Bury Your Dead and For the Fallen Dream. Tommy was in Divine Heresy and Snot. I came from In This Moment, Scar the Martyr, Vimic. So I don't think, and of course John comes from Devil Driver. So I think that there's still that kind of heavy metal work ethic that comes from all of our backgrounds, just because to be in a decently popular heavy metal band, you had to put in the work and you had to do the tours and you had to not be home. And I think that's kind of followed us into this next chapter, which is, we're still a metal band, but we have more success in the rock genre, and especially with our cover of Cranberries that we did originally by this Zombie, originally done by the Cranberries. That kind of put a whole different spotlight on us. I think if that never happened, we might still have to kind of grind and do the heavy metal stuff. But I think, like I said, with our backgrounds, it's something that we're all kind of used to. And I don't think that we're taking it too lightly, I guess, would be, all the amazing things that have happened to us, because I think we all know that, pandemic, considering the pandemic and everything, they can all be over in the blink of an eye. So yeah, I think that, that we actually have a fan base that is willing to not only help support, keep the band afloat, but, buy our exclusive merch that you can get on our Patreon, or just buying t-shirts that are on our website or whatever, and just helping us continue to keep the machine well oiled. And, we definitely do appreciate it. Cause I think if we were in any of our former bands, I don't think it would be as, I wouldn't say easy, but I think it would be a lot more difficult.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I think that there's a certain amount, when it comes to the metal community in general, especially with bands and stuff, there's a lot more of a grind, I feel like, than there is. Like you were saying, you always have to be out. You always have to be out doing whatever. And I find that a lot with like doing like the photo stuff a little bit, because I'm a photographer. You always have to be out and doing like a million things, or at least that's how you feel like you have to do. So being stuck at home is definitely one of those like, oh, what do I do now kind of things.
Yeah. And we've been pretty much on the road for the past 2 years. So us being at home, kind of, it's definitely created more challenges for each of us individually. But as a band, originally we were supposed to be off from the end of February until the first week of May. And in between the end of February and the first week of May, we were supposed to do a new record. But since now we don't have any tours lined up for this year, we're kind of taking the time to kind of solidify the Bad Wolf sound, and we're really taking our time doing the next record. So I really think that the silver lining is I think that we're hopefully going to be putting out a better product, and because we put way more time into it than we had before. Because I think when we were doing Nation, I think we had like 3 months to do that record.
Oh wow.
So now we have a little bit more time. We can be a little bit more picky and really put, more of our hard work into something. And I'm really hoping that when it does come out, it translates.
Yeah. I know definitely, like, from the first record you guys put out, Nation, the sound of it kind of got a little bit more heavier, and you guys definitely sounded like you blended a lot together. Like, I could tell that you guys had been on the road together and pretty much like living together for a long time, because you guys sounded definitely more blended, if that makes sense.
Well, when I joined the band back in late 2017, or I guess it was early 2017, and then it was kind of like solidified that I was in the band in late 2017. All the songs were already written. So John and Tommy had basically wrote all of those songs, and they were already recorded by the time that I was in the band. So that's kind of more of like stuff that John had been working on since 2014, and stuff that Tommy had been working on since like 2016. So the material was already really there. And I think, there's like our first record, Disobey, it's definitely not what you would expect from our backgrounds, but that's kind of like, most of that stuff was already there.
Yeah.
So, when we are actually able to kind of collaborate a lot more in the studio and in the writing process, we kind of came up with something that was a little bit more straight ahead, but also, a collaborative effort between all of us as a group.
Yeah. I felt like, and I really like both albums that you guys have put out.
Thank you.
But I definitely feel like Nation was more kind of like a punch you in the face, as
Mhm.
opposed to Disobey was kind of, it had a good vibe to it, but like it wasn't really like smack you in the face. Like Nation was like, oh, I'm breaking down your door and I'm just gonna like beat the shit out of you. It's kind of,
Yeah, there's a few like straightforward metal songs on that on Disobey, but a lot of it was kind of like, it was more of like, start off like really loud and fast, but then you bring it down in the verse, and it was kind of like, and then big choruses. So it was kind of like more of a listening experience. And when we were doing Nation, I think it was just more of like, we need to figure out what like what we are as a band, because we do all come from metal bands, but we also do like other genres besides metal. And since we're able to, with the success of Zombie and Remember When and stuff like that, we kind of get lumped more into the rock category, which isn't a bad thing for us, but I think it just shows how diverse you can really be in the music industry and still be like, a quote unquote metal band, and not just be like, oh, we like to get lumped. They like to lump us in with, like Shinedown and Five Finger Death Punch. Cool. We have those songs, but we also have metal songs too. And I think that's one thing that people don't realize when they hear us. They just assume because, maybe the only things that were popular on the radio have been, Zombie, Hear Me Now, Remember When, Killing Me Slowly, and Sober. That's all they see us as, is like,
Right.
we've gotten Nickelback a lot, which is fine. I know those guys, and they're wonderful human beings, and they make a lot of money. So,
Yeah.
but if they actually sat down and listened to the records, I think that they'd be pleasantly surprised by hearing how much actual more metal there is on the records as opposed to the radio songs that we have.
Yeah, for sure. I don't really hear, like, I don't hate Nickelback, but I don't really hear a Nickelback comparison, because that kind of surprises me that you guys kind of got compared to that.
It's more of the internet trolls, I think, trying to maybe it's like a backhanded compliment in a way, because Nickelback is one of the most hated rock bands out there, and especially when we did Sober, I wasn't sure of how our metal fans were able to, like, digest
Right.
that, because it's very opposite spectrum of, you know, say a song like I'll Be There or Toast the Ghost or Jesus Slaves or anything like that. It's definitely a lot different than that. But, you know, I don't mind being diverse. I think if you have, you know, if you have the capability to write big, you know, big songs that can, you know, maybe get played on the radio and do metal songs, I think that, you know, why not, you know?
Right. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with diversity, and I actually really like that. I was kind of talking a little bit about that earlier too. There's certain bands and artists and stuff that can kind of bounce around in genres and still have like a solid sound that's theirs, but it's like their sounds doing rock or pop or whatever. And I kind of feel like that's how Bad Wolves is to a degree. Like you guys have definitely have diversity, like from a song Sober to Learn to Walk Again, or like two totally different genres, but it still sounds like Bad Wolves.
Yeah. Well, you know, having a frontman who has such a distinctive voice like Tommy does, you know, I've known Tommy for going on 12 years now. And there's just something like, you know, because he's tried out for bands that I've been a part of, and I've tried out for bands that he's been a part of. And there's just, I can always tell when it's Tommy. Maybe it's just because I'm close to him, but he definitely has one of the, you know, he's one of those singers that has a very distinct voice. Like, you know, the second you hear, you know, Ivan Moody, like, you know, that's Five Finger Death Punch. You know, he has a very distinctive voice, and it's a very powerful voice as well. So I think having that, and as well as having his energy on stage, it really gives us, you know, that kind of edge to where it doesn't really matter what kind. You know, we could put out a 80s pop synthwave song, and if Tommy was singing on it, you would know it was us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I could totally see that. Because I find that there's certain bands, like you were saying, have like that very distinct voice, like a Freddie Mercury or somebody like that,
Mhm.
or even like Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. Like you hear that, it's like, oh, whoa, yeah, that's Nirvana.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely can see that.
But, you know, luckily, like I said, you know, we have a lot more time to kind of fine tune to what we think, you know, the Bad Wolf sound should be. And, you know, we've been working on this record, I mean, since we got back from Europe in late February. So it's been a lot of, and we do it kind of remotely anyway. Like sometimes, you know, we'll get together with John or, you know, whatever. But for the most part, it's us just kind of like at our houses, like right now, and just kind of like putting ideas down. And like how I write, I don't really put, like, I don't do full songs. That's just not how my brain works. So I'll jot down an idea. So my ideas are anywhere from like 15 seconds long to a minute and a half long. And then, you know, if I hear back from John, he'll be like, oh, yo, I really dug this. I know that it's something he can work with. If I don't hear back from him, I'm like, all right, cool, try again, you know? Because he's just listening to so much music. And the way that he works is that, you know, he like when you send him stuff, it's I don't get discouraged if he doesn't like, oh, that's cool, but no, he gives it one pass, and if there's something that grabs him, that's what he uses. He doesn't like to sit with the material.
Yeah.
Because he wants something to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I got onto that right away. Because that's what he wants other people listening to us to do as well. We don't want to be like, oh, you know, this is a really cool record once you sit down and like actually listen to it, you know, a couple of times, you know. So, and I really think that, you know, because all of us have so much, you know, I guess free time now since we're not on the road,
Right.
You know, there's more material going in than what there could have been. So it's like you're getting like, he's gotten like 20 ideas from me. He's gotten a bunch of ideas from Chris and Doc. And, you know, and then we just kind of figure out how to put them together. And then Tommy will get a hold of them and be like, oh, yo, this needs to be this and this need to be changed. And then we'll figure it out from there. So it's kind of like we're building the songs and we all kind of have like our own little stamp of approval on them. But ultimately we do what's best for the song.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And I think that's really cool because I find with certain bands that I've dealt with, sometimes people get butthurt if they don't get their idea used. and they're like, well, why isn't this like that, or why isn't like that being used? And it's like you should be more of like what makes it sound better than, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know, and also like when it comes to songwriting, like there's a certain point where you kind of have to put your foot down if it's something you actually truly believe in. But being married to any one of your ideas is just, it's almost, I wouldn't say exactly closed-minded, but it doesn't give you any opportunity to like progress from there. It's like, no, he didn't like that. Like all my stuff kind of sounds like that, you know? So, you know, I think being married to your ideas, especially if you're in a democracy, like what a band is, you know, you're just going to have a bad time, and you have to realize that it's nothing personal. Like, honestly, it drives me to want to do better. So if, you know, John doesn't respond to, or Tommy doesn't respond to something I've written, then it's like, all right, cool. That wasn't up to the standards of the band. That's fine. I'm glad, because that means that there is a process. It's not just being like, oh yeah, that riff's kind of cool, like we'll use it, and then, oh, that album sucked, you know? I would much rather have someone going through all the material that's being given with a fine-tooth comb and come out with something that we all love and all are like, yo, look at all this hard work that we've done, than to like have a subpar record that one of the guys had a song on because like he didn't want his feelings to get hurt or something like that, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I always feel like when it comes to something like that, everyone should be able to like, I guess, throw all the ideas in a blender if they're good. Like take everybody's good ideas and like throw them in a blender and just see like, and then an album comes out pretty much, you know?
Yeah, I did like some like random, like I like put together a song in like 20 minutes to test out some speakers that I got for my computer. And John's girlfriend went out of town or something, and he was sending me random little like 3-second videos. He's like, I'm bored. And I'm like, well, here's this stupid song I just wrote. Have fun with it. And then he goes, yo, I really like that riff. I'm taking it. So it's just, you know, you could put hours into something and it's like, yo, this is really good. Or you could literally do what I just did and threw together a song in 20 minutes. And he's like, that first riff is dope. We're going to use that, you know? So, and that's why, you know, don't be married to your ideas. You know, if it's your band and your project and you're in charge of writing all of the music, then that's on you.
Yeah.
But if you want input from other people, you know, you can't be like, no, this is how it's going to be, because that's just not how it works.
Yeah. That's never good. Like, not even just in a band setting. That's never good in general to be so married to your ideas about something like that you can't see anybody else's, I guess, ideas or advice or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we just kind of do what we can and do what works best for how we're trying to portray ourselves. You know,
right. You guys are doing a good job of it. Obviously, I feel like you guys are
trying. Thank you.
Have definitely been out there doing a lot, and I think still growing your fan base a little bit through everything. I know you guys dropped a lyric video for Learn to Walk Again back in July, I think it was.
Yeah, we were gonna film a video for that, but just the complications of the coronavirus, it just wasn't the right time to do a video for that. So maybe later on in the year, if some stuff can get settled down, we might actually put out an actual video for that. So yeah, so I guess that's, you know, After Sober, I guess that would be our follow-up single to that. And yeah, it's I don't know, like for me, that song always kind of had like a early Killswitch Engage vibe. Yeah. And I really dug it, but you know, it still has a lot of the traits and characteristics that kind of make it, you know, one of our songs, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I know that's been kind of on like repeat in my car. Like it's just been on my playlist.
Thank you.
So every time I get in my car, I'm like, yeah, like, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing 80 now. I should slow down. It has that definite, like I was saying before, like that, like the vibe of Nation, like kick you in the face kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And I guess early Killswitch Engage to a degree, I could totally see that.
Yeah, it's mainly on that song, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of there's definitely some heavy tracks on that, you know, like you know, No Messiah, I'll Be There, consumerist. I mean, honestly, I haven't listened to that record in so long. Like I gave it a listen, and I don't remember exactly everything that's on there, but you know, I know For a Friend. Actually, I think Chris wrote that song. We have goofy working titles, and I think that one was called, the working title for For a Friend was like called like Midnight Nasty or something. And it was one of the first tracks that I heard from the material that we were using that was going to end up on Nation. And I was like, damn, dude, that's a heady song.
Yeah.
And I think Chris did that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said before, though, I can definitely tell that you guys came from metal bands, not only on the fact that you guys work so hard and you guys were always touring, but also like that album had some good, like, I guess, melodic, heavy, like, riffs to it too. Yeah, and Doc had a lot on that record as well. Doc has a certain style, and like if you were to send me a file full of like 100 songs, I would be able to pick out which ones Doc wrote. I'm just used to, like, you know, I've known Doc for a really long time as well, and you know, I've followed his career through God Forbid and Vegas Nerve, and so there's just, I can always tell when something is Doc Coyle. And that's awesome. That's great though. So what happened when you guys were how did you I guess I should say, was the coronavirus still shutting stuff down when you guys were still on tour back in February, or was that before everything got shut down? No, that was a couple weeks before people were like, oh, we should really start taking this seriously. We were in our second to last show, or maybe third to last show, was in Milan, Italy. Mm-hmm. So that had a huge coronavirus outbreak. And I think we missed that by a week or so. Wow. Yeah, because I actually lost a piece of gear at that show in Milan. And I remember I was having a hard time getting a hold of our Live Nation representative, because he's like, yo, dude, coronavirus is like closing everything down. I'm like, what? Yeah. Closed? Because it wasn't serious over here yet. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was about a week or so, because our last show was in Budapest, Hungary on February 20th. And I got home to LA February 21st. And then I went back to my day job in the beginning of March, and I got furloughed from my day job March 16th. So there was like a 3-week period of when, from like everything was closed down the next week after we got home in Europe, and then another 2 weeks before everything started getting closed down over here. Yeah, and it was definitely scary when everything got shut down. I'm sure and this was something I mentioned earlier too, I'm sure it's something you can kind of understand too. When everything got shut down, it was like this abrupt halt that was like, sent me into like whiplash, because I was doing a lot of touring and stuff, doing the photo stuff. And it was just like, oh, whoa, what do you mean I don't have to like be like on a plane tomorrow, or I don't have to be in like this, like the next 2 states over in 12 hours. It was a very like, abrupt, like, what is going on? Yeah, it was definitely, because I remember, like I said, we had 2 months off, so we didn't know exactly, you know, how much of this was going to affect us. Yeah. I knew that there was bands coming home from tour, you know, or there was some bands trying to stick it out for as long as they could, and then they're like, no, you can't have shows anymore. And I remember I'm like, all right. At first I was like, all right, we'll be back out on the road in May. Like, it's March, you know, a couple months, you know. And you know, then about mid-April hit, and I'm getting, you know, calls and emails from our management and from John, and he's like, yeah, dude, it doesn't look like the May tour is going to happen. I'm like, really? All right. And then it started getting really crazy, you know, people standing outside, you know, long lines around the corner for like gun shops. You couldn't find toilet paper anywhere. Yeah. You know, it started getting real crazy. And then, but I was like, okay, cool. We'll probably still tour in July. And my drummer, John, actually is the one who called it. I don't have any information. Jesus Christ. Sorry, that was my Google Home. Shut up.
my drummer's the one who actually called it, because around the time we were canceling our May co-headliner with Hollywood Undead, he was like, dude, I don't think there's going to be any shows this year. And I'm just like, oh, he's just being dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be back out on the road in July. And then now I'm like, you know, as more times pass, I'm like, yeah, there's probably only going to be no real shows this year. I mean, I know that there was some shows in Sturgis, which whatever, you know,
Yeah.
but no, I mean like no real tours this year. I mean, if you did one earlier this year, like we were fortunate to do with Death Punch and Megadeth in Europe, like that's probably the only road time you're going to see this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, it sucks to be like that. I was talking about that a lot earlier. I think the drive-in shows are kind of a cool concept. I don't know how I'm really feeling about that yet. I'm going to one in about 2 weeks, so I'm not really sure how I feel about that yet. But
I talked to a few of my buddies that are in my peer group, and I mean, if it gets to the point to where that is the only way for us to do our job, because that's what this is a job. It's not just like I think people forget that it's like this isn't just an extended hobby.
right,
Like, this is what pays my bills,
right,
you know, and I'm very fortunate that this is what pays my bills.
yeah.
So I think if that is the only way for a band as a whole, and I'm not just talking about members getting paid, I'm talking about the band not going, because a band is a business, the band not going into like a bankruptcy type situation. If that was the only way to do it, I'm sure that would be fine.
Yeah,
But I know it's not preferred.
right.
You know, I mean, sometimes you do what you got to do, and sometimes you have to adapt, you know, but I'm really hoping that drive-in concerts are not the way of the future. That's just my opinion, you know, as someone who really, all of us in the band and a lot of the guys I know in my peer group, we put a lot into our live show. And that's like one of the things where it's like, you know, how we look at it is that we don't want you to just come to a show and watch us stand there and play the album exactly the way you remember hearing it. Like,
Right.
we want it to be an experience, you know? So things are going to sound a little bit different. And, you know, we're going to run around on stage or what have you, because that's just, you know, again, coming from being in metal bands, that's what we know is you don't want to stand there and just look like, cool, this is the record, you know? What we know is being performers. And that's another aspect of being in Bad Wolves is being a performer. It's not just like, cool, you know how to play an instrument. Cool, you're a cool guy to hang around with. Cool, you're this. But it's also being a performer as well.
Right.
So
right.
the drive-in concerts, I feel, for me at least anyway, I won't speak for anybody else, would make doing that job of performing a lot harder for me. You know,
Yeah.
So, you know, I get it. It's cool. It's a great idea as long as people are safe and doing what they need to do. But I don't think it's for me.
Yeah. I'm like I said, I have very mixed feelings on it. I keep seeing those memes on Facebook that's like when the mosh pit breaks out and has like freaking
Car crash, yeah.
Yeah. I keep seeing those and I always thought that was really funny, but I'm kind of like, really, how is it gonna work? So I'm definitely intrigued to see how this is gonna go in a couple weeks with everything.
Yeah.
But kind of going back on something you said, I hate when people don't understand that, like, I guess people in the music industry, it is a job. Everyone looks at it like it's like a hobby. Like I know when I first started my day job, I'm a cook. They were all like, "Oh, well, you're just going to concerts." I'm like, "No, I'm taking photos. Like, I'm doing stuff. It's not like as serious as like obviously what you guys do, like as musicians.
Yeah.
But still, like, this pays my bills. You guys don't understand." So
I mean, there's not too much like indifference, you know, and it's just like, imagine, and like here's the thing, like, tell anybody who doesn't do something similar to what we do, like, hey, what do you love? All right, now I want you to go out and do that for free for 12 years before you can get a real paycheck.
for exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I started in this moment, like I got paid $10 a day
Hmm.
in 2010. That was my per diem on tour, and that's what I got paid. I did not get a real check until the second year. I got a real check from the band, probably until our second year of touring. So 2019, and I'll be 34 next month.
Yeah.
So I did what I loved basically for free for 12 years.
Yeah.
So it's not just an extended hobby or something cool to do. Like I got very fortunate because I would have still done it for no pay, and I would have figured out, how to still do that regardless. I mean, I do have a day job. Like I don't just come home and be a fat lazy pig.
Right.
Like
Right.
I come home, I collect myself, I take a couple days, and then I go back to work.
Hmm.
I'm very fortunate that I have a job that I can leave and come back to at any given time. But I still have to subsidize my income from the band. But I would still easily do what I did the last 5 years that I've, before I actually started getting paychecks, which was I would go and do moonlighting for different companies, doing different stuff, mainly IT. And I would save up those paychecks, and I would use that money that I would get from those conventions and partner summits and stuff like that. And I would use those. I'd pay off all my credit cards, and then the rest of that money would go into my account, and I would basically use that money to pay my rent.
Yeah.
And then if I needed something while I was on the road, I'd put it on a credit card, and I would literally do that. I would do that 4 or 5 times a year because I wasn't getting paid.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, oh, he's just like doing this. Like I could easily go and make great money doing IT. That's what one of my side jobs is doing IT. I mean, right now I can't, but
Yeah.
I could have easily stopped doing music a long time ago and stuck with IT.
Right.
But that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to be. I want to do something that I love, which is playing music, playing shows, and getting to travel the world with my friends,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally understand that. Cause like I've been doing photography since I was probably 15. I started doing like little club shows and stuff like that. And obviously like little club bands and stuff like that, I'm not getting paid. I didn't start seeing a paycheck until probably last year. And I'm 24 now, so I've been doing this for probably 8 years. And I started seeing a little bit of that back where I could like at least stay in like an Airbnb or something and not have to like sleep in my car or drive straight like 8 hours by myself. So I totally understand it because it sucks because some people that aren't in the industry and don't understand really like what we do are like, you're having fun drinking, doing whatever. It's like, no, I'm exhausted. I'm not drinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Tommy and John, like those guys were homeless the first year that we did touring. I was homeless last year. I was homeless up until about March of this year.
Yeah.
So, it was a lot of staying on couches. Like, I mean, there's times I've slept in my car,
Yeah.
like it's not all just like cool, there's a lot that you're putting at risk for the whole, like, what if, what I mean?
The whole what if rock star.
Yeah. And that's like, I'm not doing this to be like some rich, famous, like, oh, look at my big house, my big fancy cars. Like, I don't care. Like, if it can pay my bills, awesome.
Yeah.
If it can't pay my bills, I'm probably still going to do it. I'm just going to have to work 4 times as hard so I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm literally the exact same way. It's like, I just want to be out there traveling with my friends, experiencing the music and seeing the world. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on and chatting with me, Kyle. I really appreciate
it. For sure. Thank you for having me.
And have a great night, dude. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a good one.
That was Kyle, everybody from Bad Wolves, and big shout out to him. Thanks again for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. That kind of ended up circling back to my whole rant that I went on right before he came on too about everyone in the music industry like is fucked right now, for a lack of a better term. I do have my next guest was texting me in the middle of that, and I'm trying to find out what is going on with my next guest because they are now messaging me. So all right, well, it appears that Hazen is not going to be able to make it on this live, but we did have a great chat with Melina and Dino from Red Voodoo and Kyle from Bad Wolves. So big shout out to them for coming on and chatting with me tonight. I really appreciated it. And stay tuned next week. It won't be a live episode, but next week I will be doing posting a recorded episode with South of Eden, which they're really cool. They were formerly Black Coffee, and they are from Columbus, Ohio. So please keep an eye out for that. And I will catch you babes later. I hope you guys enjoyed this Freaky Friday.